How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Maverick Designs Woodworking channel. My name is Tom, and today I'm going to show you how I take the Kaizen foam inserts that are in my concealment boxes and or any other application that you want to use it for, and carve out something to place inside of it, because there is a little bit of technique involved with that. So here we have a couple of different versions of the concealment boxes that I make. This one I call it a key box for obvious reasons. You can hang your keys onto it. And this one is essentially exactly the same, only it's missing the extra space at the bottom for the key hangers, and it's more designed to be like wall art, just a flag as opposed to having the additional functionality of the key box. And what goes inside these is called Kaizen foam. This Kaizen foam, I'll try to get a closer image for you, but basically it is laminated layers, very thin layers of laminated foam. And the idea there is that if you cut a shape into it, you should be able to put your fingers in there and pull the foam out and keep it all along the same plane, so it makes a neater, cleaner base once you get it out than if you had, like a regular styrofoam or some kind of other type of foam that would just come out in chunks and be very jagged and kind of gnarly looking. That's how this stuff is designed. It's not perfect, takes a little getting used to. There are some techniques and stuff that make it a little bit easier, and that's what I want to show you today, is how I do it to get the best results that I can. So stick around and I'll show you how to do that. Alrighty then, so the object that I am going to show you how to carve into this particular block of foam is this one. And I hope YouTube doesn't beat me up too bad about this, but anyway, so you have a complex shape here, right? And it's actually pretty easy to do this. Now, the one thing that I will say is if you are doing a similar type of object to this one, then please ensure that you create some holes to allow your fingers to penetrate the foam, whatever is more comfortable for you, at some 2 points around the object. That way that you can get inside and remove the object from the foam while, when it's mounted in the box. Because otherwise, if you don't do that, you're automatically going to want to put your fingers in the only other hole that's available, which is this one, which anybody that has these type of objects knows that is a big no-no. You don't want to do that. So make sure that you do that, and I'll show you how I do that right now. Now, you can do this with an ink pen or one of these. This is a very, very fine-tipped Sharpie, but either works. I just like these because the ink transfers a little bit better than an ink pen does, but like I said, I've done it with both before. And all you want to do is you want to trace your shape as close as you can, because you don't want it to be too loose, around the exterior of your object with the pen or the Sharpie, whatever you're using. And so in this case, you'll see I'm not cutting anything. It's going to be cut out from the whole center, so there will be a hole there, but tracing around the outside edge of the object. And then also, because I'm right-handed, I have oriented the object in this way so that when I use my right hand to reach in and take it out, and for me, this is the most comfortable way to get it out efficiently. And so I am going to put finger holes here and here to accommodate for me reaching in to extract it from the foam when it is stuck down inside there. All right, so once you get your shape traced out, the next thing that you need to do is get an X-Acto knife of some sort. I just happen to have this one. I got it at the big orange store. These tend to work best, the ones that are extendable and retractable, that have a very narrow blade on them rather than a big fat blade, because it gives you more control over smaller contours and shapes when you're doing this. Okay, so what I like to do is I like to extend the blade out to the depth of whatever it is that I'm wanting to cut in here. And I know that I'm going to cut until I get to the base of the holder here. And as long as the depth of the blade is at least as much as deep as I want the object to go into the foam, then that will give me an almost perfect depth all the way around when I am cutting it. Okay, so that's what we're going to do now. What I like to do is I like to start on one area, and I'll do the straightaway. And as you can see, I'm not going real deep here on this pass. I'm taking a very shallow, maybe quarter of an inch or less pass in here. And then each time I do it, I'll go a little deeper, a little deeper, and a little deeper until, I get maybe about halfway down the depth that I want it to be. And then I will take it and go vertical with it to get to the depth right there. I told you at the base, in this case, of my cutter. And then I will just drag it, making, you need to make cuts against the foam as you go. If you try to drag it straight across, it'll do more tearing than cutting. So you just kind of do that as you go down your, whatever your line or your surface is. And it's pretty simple. And you just do that all the way around, and then we'll move to the next step. Okay, when we get to these like smaller contours, like these little points here, and this little contour here, and some of this other stuff in here. All right, the trick to this is, and it's not really a trick, is you're just gonna go ahead and cut it from wherever it's at, and you can cut right down into here. In fact, you want to do that, and I'll tell you why in a second. But so like I'll start this one here, and I'll just cut it across here like this. Again, same thing, same depth, just like all the other cuts. And the reason why you do this is, and why it's okay to do this, and why I recommend that you do this, when you go to pull the shape out of the foam, it's actually much easier, and it comes out better if you do it in smaller pieces as opposed to in one big complete piece. So it's okay to cut it into smaller pieces, as you'll see in a second. In fact, I'm going to intentionally cut it into smaller pieces in order to accommodate that. Okay, now once you've got everything cut, what you want to do is pick a spot that it's easy to get your fingers in on one end. So I'm going to do it from here. And I know that I want to go about one knuckle or line on my finger deep into this for this particular thing. So that's what I'll do. I'll put it down in there to about that point. And then once you get it where you want it started, push your finger along the contour, and the foam should separate on its layer where you do that at. So as I do that, I'm just sliding it down, and see it pops right out of there. Now I'm looking at this now, and this is definitely not going to be deep enough. So I know I need to go a little bit deeper than this. So I'm going to go down, and my cut, I can feel my cut is actually enough, about that much deeper. And you can see it, I don't know, right there when I spread it apart. So I got to go a little bit deeper, a couple layers down more, get it started, and then do the same thing and just kind of slide your finger along that layer underneath it until you can pull it out of there. And see, it leaves a pretty decent flat surface there underneath. And then you're just going to go ahead and do that for all of the pieces that you made here and get them out of there. So on this one, what I like to do sometimes on these is because I want to get them started in exactly the same place. So I'll take this right at that edge where I pulled that first piece out to make sure that this one kind of separates along the same plane. Because sometimes you'll get at different planes, and honestly it doesn't matter if you get a little unevenness down here. It's not going to be the end of the world. It's still going to work just fine, and you're even going to see some of your cuts that went through deeper than you want them to, but it doesn't matter because when the thing is in there, it's going to cover all that up anyway, and it's more for the function of what you need it to do, as opposed to what the bottom of this is going to look like when there's nothing in it, because nobody's ever going to see that except for you. So okay, so when you get a little spot, like for example here, I want to clean up a little bit, you might have to take your razor and just do a little cleanup cutting to get certain pieces out, like this one that's being stubborn. There. And again, this does not even remotely need to be perfect. So here we're going to start another piece. I'm going to help it along here. So that hopefully it separates along the same layer that the other one did. Same thing, slide your finger along inside there, along that layer that you're separating. Pop it out. And you just continue this until you get everything out of there. All right. So as you can see, I got everything out here, and now we'll do a test fit. Safety here. We'll do a test fit to see how it fits in there. You want it to be somewhat tight. It doesn't have to be crazy tight. Oops. And that looks like it's going to work for me. In the case of these boxes, you have maybe 1/4 of an inch between the lid and the foam, so it's okay if it's proud, just a little bit of it. And I'll test it to make sure that it functions the way that I need it to. As you can see, here are my finger holes for easy access for removal, and works perfectly. And that's it. It's really that simple. It's not rocket science. Some people have trouble with it though, or some people feel intimidated by it because they've never done it before. And again, the key is take it out in small pieces and make sure your cuts are at least as deep as you want it to be. And then once you get it started, you just, again, kind of move your finger along that same layer to separate it all on one straight line. And again, if it's uneven or if it looks kind of funky afterwards, it's not a big deal. If it really bothers you, you can take a razor blade and kind of flatten it out some. It's pretty easy to work with. It's really good stuff. So that's going to be it for this video. I just wanted to do a short and sweet instructional video on how to do this, because I do know that some of my customers are intimidated by it. And anybody who wants to do this, it works with any kind of object or shape the same way. And so let's say I wanted to add another object in here like this one, I would do exactly the same thing. In my case, I would also put, just for ease of access, I would put another finger hole wherever I think I would need it at to make this easier to remove from the foam. And you do exactly the same thing. And then you pop it back into the box and you are ready to go. So I hope you got something good out of this one, as in all of the videos that I do. If you have any questions, you can leave them down in the comments and I'll get back to you. I try to get back to everybody. And as always, stay safe and happy woodworking.